All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. Imagine you're in a quiet rural town just before sunrise. The sky is this pale, icy blue, and everything around you is completely still. Literally, the only sign of life is a gentle curl of dark smoke steadily rising from the chimney of an old, weathered stone building. You can faintly smell burning coal hanging in the crisp morning air. We are looking at a 170-year-old blacksmith shop, which is actually one of the absolute last family-owned forges still operating in America. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating documentary treatment that walks us through a single, cinematic day in the life of this historic shop. It's an incredible story about fire, steel, and a deep family legacy that absolutely refuses to burn out. Before we even hear the first hammer fall, there's a quote here that perfectly captures the heavy, visceral reality of our topic today. Long before machines built America, fire, iron, and human hands shaped the tools that made everything else possible. I mean, just think about that for a second. We live in this era of instant gratification, disposable goods, and completely automated manufacturing. But the moment we watch this master blacksmith step into the shop and start pumping those ancient leather bellows, we're instantly transported back in time. We watch the fire in the forge wake up, growing from a smoldering red to this brilliant, almost blinding orange. It's a vivid reminder that human hands, raw muscle, and intense heat quite literally built the physical foundations of our modern world. Part 1. The Forge Awakens, Igniting the Day. Part 2. A 170-year legacy, generations of fire and steel. So, as the morning fire heats up, it's absolutely crucial to understand the foundation of this specific shop. This isn't some hobbyist's weekend garage setup, right? It's a living institution. Just consider this staggering number, 170. For over 170 years, this family-owned forge has continuously operated. That means this shop has survived through 5 or 6 generations of artisans. And this knowledge wasn't learned from reading a textbook. It was passed down directly, mentor to apprentice, father to son, generation after generation. Through devastating wars, severe economic depressions, and the massive sweeping changes of the Industrial Revolution, this single glowing fire has been tended by the exact same bloodline. Crazy enough, they are still using the exact same antique anvils and hand-forged hammers that their great-great-grandfathers used over a century ago. Tracking this forge through history is honestly like looking at a time capsule of American evolution, because the forge adapted right alongside the growing country. Back in the 1850s, they were the absolute lifeblood of the local farming community, making heavy plows and durable hardware for wagon builders heading out west. Then, as the nation rapidly expanded in the late 1800s, they shifted those heavy hammers to support the booming railroads. By the 1900s, with mass production really creeping in, they became the vital center of town for everyday repairs. Actually, one historic customer noted something pretty incredible. They said, nothing stayed broken for long if the blacksmith was nearby. And today, they've adapted yet again to survive, focusing their massive skill set on custom architectural ironwork and meticulous historic restorations. They never once stopped working, they just changed what they were shaping to fit the era. Part 3. The Art of Forging, the Rhythm of the Anvil. Moving into the peak of the day, this is where the magic really happens. The physical craftsmanship required to transform stubborn, raw metal really boils down to 3 fundamental steps. First, heating the steel deep in the coal forge until it glows that brilliant, pliable orange. Second, swiftly moving it to the anvil to hammer and draw out the steel, which literally resculpts its molecular structure. And finally, quenching that super hot metal in a barrel of water to instantly lock in its strength. Now, broken down like that, it sounds pretty simple, right? But do not let that fool you for a second. The physical toll here is massive. Every single hammer blow takes perfect timing, exhausting strength, and microscopic precision. They're literally moving solid metal with raw human muscle. Through these really advanced, traditional techniques, like punching holes cleanly through solid steel, twisting red-hot iron into delicate, intricate patterns, and forge welding 2 pieces together using absolutely nothing but heat and extreme pressure, the blacksmith creates an unbelievable variety of items. Just consider the sheer range here. We're talking stunning decorative scrollwork, perfectly balanced razor-sharp hand-forged knives, heavily detailed historic gate restorations, heavy-duty custom fireplace tools, and perfectly contoured custom-fitted horseshoes. Every single piece leaves that workshop carrying the unmistakable permanent marks of fire, steel, and highly skilled hands. There's a reflection from the master blacksmith here that I absolutely love. Steel remembers every hammer strike. You can't rush a piece into becoming something beautiful. That really highlights the deep, grounding philosophy of patience that completely defines hand forging. Because if you hit the metal wrong, if you strike it out of anger or frustration, or if you're just being impatient, the metal records that mistake forever. Think about what that means in our modern hyperspeed culture. It's a radical, almost rebellious concept, isn't it? You simply cannot rush it. It demands your time, your total focus, and your absolute respect. Part 4. Factories versus the forge. The shift in American industry. So, as our day at the forge shifts into the late afternoon, we have to zoom out and look at the massive industrial changes happening outside those ancient timber walls. Obviously, industrial manufacturing brought us mass-produced tools, cheap imported hardware, and lightning-fast welding techniques. It's fast, it's incredibly cheap, and it undeniably changed the world forever. But, in stark contrast, the family forge makes items with distinct purpose, one unique piece at a time. It is entirely hand-forged, relying on slow, hard-earned generational skill. We are looking at a direct collision here, the explosive rise of fast, disposable, machine-made goods versus the slow, deeply intentional, personal craft of the anvil. Amidst rising fuel costs, a huge decline in traditional apprenticeships, and the haunting, all-too-common sight of abandoned factories scattered across rural America, the owner's words cut right through all the noise of the modern era. Factories make products. A forge makes one piece at a time with purpose. That reminds us exactly why this deliberate, unhurried craft still matters so much today. It isn't just about making a tool to sell. It's about making something that has a soul, a rich history, and deliberate intentionality behind every single curve and edge. Part 5. Preserving the craft. More than just a workshop. To survive today, this family has had to brilliantly adapt once again. They've transformed their historic forge from just a quiet place of production into a vibrant, living classroom. And so, what should we take away from this? It's that preservation is an active, really demanding effort. They're doing absolutely everything they can. They are dedicating hundreds of hours to teaching new apprentices, passing down demanding techniques that literally take decades to master. They host engaging public forging demonstrations, they meticulously craft authentic reproductions for museums, they loudly support local heritage festivals, and they collaborate with other local artisans. By throwing open those heavy wooden doors and actively sharing this ancient knowledge, they are making sure the heartbeat of American craftsmanship doesn't just quietly fade out in the dark. Part 6. The final hammer blow. Evening at the anvil. As the day's grueling work finally comes to an end, the last glowing piece of iron is plunged into the quenching water, sending this dramatic, hissing cloud of white steam rushing up into the rafters of the cooling workshop. As the heavy hammers are carefully put back in their neat, worn places on the timber walls, and a deep, well-earned silence fills the room, we're reminded of the core theme of this entire story. The strongest legacies, whether we're talking about hardened steel, resilient families, or tight-knit communities, are forged slowly. They require the intense heat of fire, immense patience, back-breaking hard work, and generations of people willing to physically shape the future with their own two hands. Which brings us to the morning light of a brand new day. The blacksmith unlocks the workshop door, steps into that familiar scent of coal and iron, and strikes a match, ready to light a brand new fire. But it leaves us with this powerful, provocative question to ponder. Who's going to stand at that anvil next? Will a younger generation step up to the immense physical and mental challenge of balancing modern tools with these ancient, demanding methods? Because the fire never truly dies, as long as someone is willing to tend to it. Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating journey of fire and steel with me today.